James Mack Show on Shoreditch Radio.
Brilliant. So I am absolutely delighted to be joined by a local legend from Worcestershire on the James Mack Show. I first discovered Adam in the 2000s when he was the driving force behind Americana band The Misers. Then later in the 2010s, he's recruited by Simon Fowler from Ocean Colour Scene for his side project, the brilliant Merrymouth. He's with me now to talk about The Misers, Merrymouth, and a new project that launched right here in Redditch in June this year called Redditch Revival. Please welcome to the James Mack Show, Adam Barry.
Hello, mate. Thank you for that.
Absolute pleasure. Now, did I get that intro spot on? Fairly right?
I mean, when you said driving force, I thought you were going to mention it was a driving instructor because I did that for 6 months as well.
Oh, wow. There we go. So I thought,
you've
teased something out there, but that's not on social media.
It's not on social media. So yeah, I thought you have done your homework.
Oh, nice. Like it.
Yeah, no, that's a lovely introduction. Thank you.
Oh, absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Well, I think we need to talk about music first.
Yeah.
As I think that's fair to say it's your first love, first passion.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But kind of how did you first get into music, and was there a moment where you realised that, you know, this is what you really, really wanted to do?
Not really, because it's been my life ever since I've been about, I suppose, 2.
Wow.
As a toddler, I was just obsessed with music. That's all I responded to as a kid. And then my mum and dad saw that very, very early on. And when I went through school, I think it was quite obvious to me and my parents that school was just never going to be for me. And it wasn't through like a try-in, it was just through a number of things, really. I was bullied quite a lot at school, which didn't help. And I felt that the educational system kind of let me down as well by the way they handled that.
Yes.
And I just thought, this isn't going to be for me. I had 2 brothers that went to university and they did really well, and that's never was going to be my life. So mum and dad nurtured music out of me, really. You know, they took me to any gig I wanted to go to.
Wow,
and
that's cool.
They were just really cool with me. And yeah, I've been lucky enough for about 24, 25 years now. Like every bit of food that's been put on my table has been through music, and that's
Wow.
probably the proudest thing I can say really about it, you know, because
It's quite rare because
it's hard. It's
Oh,
hard.
Wow. I mean, I've only ever kind of done a little dabble, I suppose.
Yeah.
But through kind of the stuff I've done with radio, I've got to speak to all different kinds of musicians at different stages of their career, some established ones, some that are just starting out, some that are kind of on the up and up. But they've all said it's so difficult, and I've seen that as well. Especially now, it's quite accessible in terms of I can release music quite easily, so can anyone.
Yeah.
But it's having that success, and then, like you say, being able to put food on the table.
Yeah.
With music is not easy.
You've got to be flexible, and yeah, it's hard for musicians now that kind of. I mean, through my projects now, I work with a lot of people that were huge names in the 90s and that era, and they've had to adapt as well because, you know, the money that was around in the music industry then just isn't there now. And if you don't adapt, you're going to sink, unfortunately. So you have to just move with the times. And music now, there isn't so much money in records, so you have to do the live thing. Streaming hurt the industry so much. As a consumer, streaming's amazing because, I mean, I go and see shows now through bands that I would never, ever been able to hear of before Spotify.
Yeah, of course.
But also as an artist, you don't get a much, you know, monetary-wise from things like that. So it swings and roundabouts, but you have to make the best of whatever you're given.
Yeah.
And I think it's just gone, you know, money in music has gone now, but that doesn't mean you can't make money. You just got to adapt with it. You've got to move with the times.
Well, I think we were talking earlier about social media. You know, everyone can see what you've had for breakfast.
Yeah.
But that's such a huge platform to kind of, I guess, springboard new artists.
Get
them to kind of the levels where they want to get to in the industry.
Oh, completely.
And if you're not good at social media, it's great that, you know, if you can play an instrument, you can sing really well, and you can create some amazing songs. But if you're not good at social media, you're not going to be successful.
No. But also when you get your streaming sort of statistics through and stuff, and you can see where your music's been played, it's quite incredible because you can look and, you know, you can see that you've been played in countries that you didn't even know existed, you know, the things that you can't say out loud. And you think, gosh, how have they found our music and stuff? And that's amazing to think that someone
pretty cool
is over in, you know, Jamaica or something listening to a piece of music that you've been involved with. That's amazing. And I suppose going back 30 years ago, that wouldn't happen really,
Well, no, of course
unless you're in the mainstream.
Yeah.
But
or unless you toured Jamaica.
Unless you toured Jamaica, which we never really got to do.
No.
Tour in Jamaica.
But. Talking of kind of stories from the days of tour and things like that, you must have some amazing stories from when you were in the Misers, and I'd imagine some of the gigs were in some quite interesting places.
Yeah.
Any particular ones that like have really stuck with you?
Working with, so before the Misers, we were a band called The Fever, and that was a band that was formed when we came out of college. And it's funny because whenever you listen to people talking about their careers, they always tend to go back to the times that they were in a transit van, and this is people that have toured, the world in jets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And obviously never ever got near that stage, but when you're 21, 22 and you're, in a blue transit van driving around Holland, do you know what I mean? And doing your first gigs ever outside of the UK. Cool. It's just some of the best times you'll ever have, really.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not about how many people are in the audience. We've played to so many rooms where there's been no one there.
Yeah.
But it's just great fun, because in life, I think the fun thing is always the chase.
Yes.
And that's always, there's hope. There's always that this is going to be worth it one day. And
I like that. It's more the journey rather than the destination.
Absolutely. And unfortunately people ignore the journey because they are so obsessed with the destination, but you don't know where the destination ever is going to be.
No. So
if you don't look at the journey, you're never going to feel fulfilled.
Like that. I like that. And I've got to ask, because Ocean Colour Scene and Simon Fowler are personal heroes of mine.
Mine too.
What was it like touring and recording with Simon and Dan, obviously, of course, Dan Sealey?
Both of those guys were amazing to work with. And first met Simon about 2006, I think it was, when we were the Misers and we supported him and Oscar. And then, I was lucky enough to become friends with him. And then I moved to Ashford Bank.
Love it.
Just down the road from here.
Local mentions again. We're here in Redditch. We've got Ashford Bank down the road.
And became really good mates with Dan Sealey, who was related to Simon and played bass in Ocean Colour Scene. So it all came about from that, really. And it was, it was quite surreal, because Simon was somebody that I grew up listening to through my sister-in-law, really. I remember, her being quite obsessed with Simon. And
well, weren't we all, really?
Yeah, that whole era of music was just amazing. I got introduced to all that sort of music through my brother and his now wife, and to then work with people. It's a bit bizarre. It's
like a pinch me kind of moment. Am I actually awake when it's happening?
Absolutely. People always say don't meet your heroes, and I'm not saying Simon was my hero, but they were in terms of music. They were just I idolised them, really. And fair many people at that time, and he's a really good guy. And it's the same with Dan. I'm so lucky to have worked with incredible songwriters and artists. I've always felt I'm a bit of a fraud, really, because I've never really felt...
that's definitely not the case from what I've seen. You might have felt that, but it's not certainly come across that way at all.
Well, yeah, I'm very grateful for the opportunities that I've been given, and I've loved every minute of it.
Amazing.
Every minute of it.
Amazing, love it.
Yeah.
So you've played with the Misers, toured with Merrymouth, and you've worked with probably countless amazing, brilliant musicians over the years.
Yeah.
But is there one moment where you've just kind of stopped and thought, I can't believe this is actually happening?
I met Tom Petty, and that was the only time I've ever truly been starstruck.
That's so cool.
And I met him in a dressing room in Canada, and supporting him was Steve Winwood, who was from Worcester. And I got the opportunity to go backstage, and I was so nervous about meeting Tom because he was my hero. And he still is.
Yeah.
And I thought, this could go awful. So I thought my in is going to be, I can speak to Steve, because Steve's from Worcester, I'm from Worcester, and I thought he's going to be cool.
Yeah.
So if it's a bit awkward, I'll go and talk to him, and we can chat about the cathedral or Worcester sauce
or snobs or something.
Absolutely, yeah. And then I went to speak to Steve, and it was just a bit awkward, really. And not that he wasn't nice at all, but he just didn't really want to engage with the conversation. I thought, okay, fine. And I kind of made my way to the door, and then Tom came and said, hey, I was going to do an impression of him.
Nah, go on, do it. I love an impression of Tom Petty.
hey man, how are you doing? And I was like, I'm good. And I said, listen, I just want to say that Concert for George was my most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. And he just said, hey, that was a magical night. And that's all I wanted to say. I didn't want to speak to him about his career. I just wanted to thank him for that, really. And I just shook his hand and he said, enjoy the show. And
That's the coolest thing ever, that is.
And I was so glad I just kept it to 10 seconds. I just thanked him for something that, I never thought I'd get the opportunity to.
No, of course you don't. You never think you're going to meet Tom Petty.
So that was my pinch me moment.
That's brilliant. I love that. I love that. And we'll get on to why we're here, really, in Redditch. So tell me more about Redditch Revival. Where did the idea come from? And what are you really hoping that it can achieve for Redditch and the music scene here?
Redditch Revival, really, I mean, I have to give full credit to Ian Prowse, who's my business partner with Redditch Revival. Basically, what happened, the room that we're in right now is the Whitetail above the Heart and Headless Cross. And during COVID, I'll try and cut this as short as I can, but I was contacted by the owner who said, do you want to come and do some stuff in this room?
Yeah.
And I did. Nothing ever really stuck for whatever reason, but I just loved the room. I loved the soul of the room, and I thought this would be an amazing venue. I'd love to do something with it one day.
Yeah.
And the opportunity then arose. So aside to me playing, I run a music agency as well. So I put on gigs around the area, and I used to run open mics, and a lot of those kids that were doing open mics for me are now professional musicians. So I was calling them gigs, blah, blah, blah. And I'm quite fortunate. I've got sort of friends that have, quite established names in the industry. And
just a few big ones, yeah.
Whenever we'd meet up and talk about venues and stuff, they would always kind of say it's, there's not many venues that particularly look after you or go the extra mile.
Yeah.
And so I always thought I'd love to put on shows, but really come at it from an angle of if I can make it right for the artist.
Yeah.
So I want artists to go away from a venue and for them to feel, wow, they really looked after me. So I thought, I'm going to turn this venue into that. So I approached them and they said, yeah, we'll back you 100%.
Amazing.
And then I thought, right, how am I going to do this? So then I approached a guy called Ian Prowse, who's a mate of mine from years ago. And he's always said to me, he just wants to work in music. I want to work in music. I want to work in music. And I thought, he's going to be a great one to get involved with this. So I approached him with the idea. And it was him who came up with the whole Redditch Revival thing. And I said, well, that's great because you can look after kind of it from a punter's point of view.
Yes.
I can get all the artists and I can look after that side. I can deal with agents, manage. I can do that easily. He can build a website and do all that. And he can come from it from a fan point of view.
That's it.
So,
and be on the same level as
it works
the
really
punters.
well. Yeah. So I can't take a scrap of credit for Redditch at all, and I wouldn't want to. That was, he thought of that name, he thought of that, and I was like, it's a great idea. And so we've executed it together extremely well, but it comes from him.
Like that. Well, obviously I know Ian as well, and Ian's, I think, energy is difficult to match.
I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but he's like a puppy dog.
100%.
He's so excitable by it, and that is just so refreshing to be around. He's very much think of the reasons why we should do something rather than the reason why we shouldn't do something, and that's brilliant because not a lot of people are like that. And I feel bad sometimes because I say no to. Well, I feel I say no to quite a lot of things, but then we think about it and we find. I always feel like he comes to me with a brilliant idea, but I'll also say,
perhaps being sensible.
Maybe we shouldn't do that, and this is the reasons why. And again, I'll say, from an artist's point of view, that wouldn't be a good thing to do. No. And I think he appreciates that because he can't come from an artist's point of view. So we reach a middle ground that ends up being great for the audience and also great for the artist.
Well, it's brilliant. I mean, I really appreciate both you and Ian giving me the opportunity to host some of these events. Which, I mean, the Nigel Clark from Dodgy event that we had last month was amazing. Everyone that I spoke to came away from that event just absolutely buzzing as customers. And I think it's fair to say that Nigel came away from that event buzzing as well when I spoke to him. Yeah,
he spoke to me 2 days later and he just said, I wish every promoter was like you. And that was all I needed to hear, really.
That's brilliant, yeah.
Because as I said, the whole point of this was I wanted the artist to go away just thinking, wow, I felt special that night, and I think that's what
it.
It was very emotional for Nigel because it was a homecoming gig.
Yeah, of course, here
And
as well.
and I want everyone to go away just thinking that,
Love that.
because they deserve it.
Well, I think the other thing from, I mean, you know, yourself from an artist's point of view, playing to stadiums is great. You know, playing to some of the bigger venues is amazing. But, you know, if you're a top name artist out there and you want to play to something that's a little bit more intimate, I mean, as an audience member, when I was stood at the back there, it felt like I had Nigel Clark from Dodgy in my living room.
Yeah.
And if you're, you know, a big name artist and you want to play something that's a little bit more intimate, 50 people we can fit in here, just about squeeze them in. So you know, this is the venue for you, really. Redditch Revival is the one. So with kind of all that on the way, really, I guess, with Redditch Revival and all the stuff you've done with Misers and Merrymouth, what is it you'd really like to be remembered for most, kind of, I guess, professionally?
It's really funny because in terms of, I suppose you're asking what I'm most proud of. Is that right? Or
what's the thing you've done so far you'd like to remember for, or maybe something that's kind of in the pipeline and yet to come?
There's nothing I've ever done. It's funny. I was having a conversation with a mate probably about 3 months ago, and we were asking about, do you have any regrets? And I said, I have no regrets in my life. And he took that as being an arrogant answer, because he felt that he thought I've made no mistakes, and that's not what I mean. No. What I mean is, I've done things that I look back and think I could have done that differently. Yeah. But I've learned from that, and also I think I've been in situations where I felt I could have been dealt with better or treated better from friends or family, whatever it might be. But again, I can take so many positives from that. Yeah. So I've been really lucky enough in terms of, no matter what project I've been involved with, whether it be, you know, touring with Simon and Dan, or going abroad for the first time, or just hosting an open mic down the road, I've been as proud of each project as the last one. Brilliant. So it's not about, you know, doing massive festivals or anything like that. I feel very fortunate with whatever project I'm involved with. Like, this is my favourite thing at the moment. I'm in the studio next week recording a house track, which is something that I've never done before. And I love that just as much as I love, you know, writing songs with Simon and Dan or performing that. So that's what I'm really grateful for. I wouldn't go back to anything either. And I don't mean that because anything was bad. You know, if we had a call today saying, oh, the Misers want to get back together, or Merrymouth, I wouldn't want to be a part of it. And that's absolutely no reason other than I don't particularly like going back to things. I think things have their shelf life for a reason. But if Merrymouth or the Misers or anything got back together, I'd be the first one to buy a ticket. I'd love to go and experience that. Yeah, that'd be cool. See it from the other side as well. Totally. Yeah. And I would just champion it so much. Love that. But it's something that I don't ever feel that I'd want to go. I just like looking forward. I like that. So it's kind of really, what could the next thing be? Yeah. And as I said, you know, next week is my most exciting thing about being in the studio doing this house track, because I've never played on a house track before, and I've never worked with DJs. Yeah, and I'm working with some really good fish. Yeah. So that's pushing me outside my boundaries. Yeah. And then after that, it'll be the Chris Helme gig. So that'll be the thing, which I'm really, really looking forward to hosting. It's Chris. I love the Seahorses. I mean, they're absolutely Chris brilliant. Is a really, really good friend of mine, and he's just one of those people that when I'm in the room with him, it just makes me feel good. Yeah. Out of everyone I can call a mate, you know, he's one of those people, when you get a text message, he just makes you smile a little bit. That's brilliant. And he's helped me through some, I won't say dark times, but you know, just moments where you need a mate. Tough times where you need like an encouraging word or even a bit of banter. Absolutely. Yeah. He texted me about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I could tell he was drunk, but he was listening to Van Morrison and just had this idea that we should do a show about Van Morrison. And that's a great idea. Yeah, and because I write and direct shows as well. I do a show in Halifax every Christmas, and I'm doing another one this year with Chris and Nigel and some various people. Cool. And he just had this. He went on this big drunken, not rant, but about we need to do a Van Morrison thing, like a big kind of spiel and about like we should do Van Morrison and we should do this. Absolutely, he was just texting me about listen to the Hammond on this. You know, we can do this. And I just love the fact that I could picture him in his house now. Just and it's great. He's just one of those people that when I see him calling, it's just like it's great because he's just a great soul, a really good soul.
Love that. And you know, I like today. I've been really lucky. I've had amazing guests like yourself on the show. I've had Rich Wolfenden from Radio X, Zoe Lister, who is local from Redditch, did the Jet2 Holidays adverts. Rich Archer from Hardfire, another 2000s band that I absolutely love.
This is your day. This is what you've done today.
Well, not quite today, but I wish it was today. But no, on my show. And then obviously I've had Nigel as well from Dodgy. But who do you think I should interview next? And if you do have Simon Fowler's number, I'm not going to say no.
I do. I saw Simon not so long ago, and I think what would be good for each guest that we get on here, they should come onto your show afterwards, and
that'd be lovely.
It'd be great to get a debrief from their point of view, really, about how this show was for them.
I like that.
Because a lot of people kind of are interviewed about stuff they've got coming up.
Yes, rather than a retrospective kind of
completely
position.
Yeah. So I'd say the next good guest for you would be Chris Helme. Get Chris Helme on your show, and
love it.
We can sort that. Yeah, no problem.
Brilliant. Well, that sounds great.
And then Tommy Cannon. You could have Tommy Cannon on the show.
Do you know what? Cannon and Ball on a Saturday night on ITV used to be my absolutely favourite thing when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And he's, by all accounts, Tommy's firing on all cylinders still. And he's going to be absolutely amazing when he comes here to the Whitetail. So.
What a sweetheart he is. And, there's not many people from that generation left. And
no.
I never understand why, when you go back to the 60s, the 70s, you've got Morecambe and Wise, who are incredible.
Yeah.
And then I suppose after that it was the two Ronnies. And then you have Cannon and Ball, but they never get talked about in the same amount of respect.
No, but they are the same. They're the same level.
Oh my God. I mean,
they?
you look at the viewing figures for their show.
It was crazy.
Primetime ITV for years. And then summer seasons just sold out 6 nights a week, and matinees. And they were just huge people in this industry. And I just always felt that they didn't get quite, in retrospective views, that the accolades that those guys got.
They're legends, aren't they? Really, absolute legends.
And it's funny because out of all the shows that we're doing here, that's probably the one I'm most looking forward to, because I just think it's, without sounding too sad, but you're not going to have those opportunities for too much longer with these people, and it's going to be great just to see him kick back and talk about how the industry has changed from his point of view. And we're going to have a big projector here, and we're going to show some old clips. And he's going to do Q&A with the audience.
Brilliant. And there'll be some stories. I mean, Tommy's got some great stories.
Absolutely. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be special.
Oh, brilliant. That's going to be amazing. And before I let you go, because my show is a music show, is there a track that perhaps we should be playing after our chat that you'd love to hear? What anything kind of favourite that sticks to mind? And you can say Van Morrison, as we mentioned Van Morrison if you wanted, but literally anything. I've played all sorts for guests on the show.
You could play anything from the Everly Brothers.
Oh, I love it.
Anything from Buddy Holly.
Yeah.
Anything from Chaz and Dave.
Oh yeah, I love a bit of Chaz and Dave.
Blossoms.
Oh, Blossoms are my absolute favourite at the moment.
Blossoms,
their new track, "Meet Me in Love."
Yeah,
that's just what a track.
Well, do you know what? It's very easy to go back and play a track from the 90s or a track from the Beatles or whatever. So let's go with Blossoms, because I remember seeing them outside the Etihad. I don't know, 10, 11 years ago maybe, and they were kids.
Yeah,
and he was there in his flares, leather jacket, long hair, and then I just remember watching him thinking he's going to be a star. But I never knew how he'd be a star because the industry had changed. And then when I saw them come on the scene 2 years after that, maybe, and that first album, I was so happy for them. And now every track they put out, people always say there's no good new music, and there is. There's so much great
that's
new
such
music.
a bad statement, because there is so much good music, and I love that you've picked Blossoms.
Yeah, so
absolute favourite. Well,
go with Blossoms.
Let's go for it. So here on the James Mack Show, just for you on Shoreditch Radio, is Blossoms with "Meet Me in Love."